the adult industry.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, and then like you're like, oh, tax season.
I'm not going to do porn. I'm a CPA.
9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, we're recording. So welcome to another episode of The Other Side of the Tattoo. I am here with my good friend, Annabelle Peaks.
You said good friend. I appreciate that.
Well, yeah. Well, we've known each other for a little while now.
Yeah.
We met in the non-typical way. You were actually, I first became familiar with you because you were doing modeling and some promotion work with Inked Magazine, who I work with and for. And that was how I got introduced. I was not up to speed on the current actresses.
I was going to say current track of my career.
Yeah, because your career, because I'm a total slacker, but you are an adult film star and an entrepreneur in many areas, which is why I wanted you on, because you're super interesting and super motivated. And I thought you'd be a great guest, and you agreed to do it. So that's kind of the other thing. Like,
sometimes I make, silly choices, and I'm not sure if this is one of them yet.
Oh, it's a terrible choice. This is like the worst thing you can do for your career. It's like, I've accomplished so much. I'm going to go on this podcast that doesn't even exist yet with this guy. It's going to be great. It's such a power move.
I know you can kill it. You watch TED Talks and Joe Rogan. I'm pretty sure that is a measure of success for podcasters.
And Freakonomics and lore and other randomness. So yeah,
I'm gonna have to look up Freakonomics because that one's interesting just because of the title.
You would really like Freakonomics. I started reading their book. I read the first Freakonomics books a couple of years ago, and I was hooked. It's just this interesting way of viewing the social circumstances we're in. They tackle all kinds of really crazy topics that people don't necessarily have answers for, so they come at it at a more logical way and a different approach than some people examine topics. So I won't get into it too much until after you've participated in it. And then one time we'll get on here and do that, because aside from being in the adult industry, you are actually a CPA, I believe?
Yes.
All right. So give us a little bit of background, give a little intro to you for those who don't already know you.
Okay. This is my spiel. Let's see. I am, my name's Anna. I'm 36 years old. I am a CPA by career. So I've got a master's degree in accounting. I did that for like 7 years, and then kind of fell into the adult industry. And
that's normal. Like, you're driving to work, you're stuck at a stoplight, you shoot.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Porn. Yeah, and then like you're like, oh, tax season. Oh, wait, how do I split this up?
Okay. So
how do you fall into that?
I know people ask me that all the time. Okay, so accountants are kind of square. Let's be honest. If you have an accountant, you go in, you go in, like that calculator in their pocket. I know because I was around, and I am not a square. Like I don't fit that mentality at all. So, but I'm really good at what I do. I'm not boring. Like, in fact, I refuse to be boring. Like, that is the last thing in the world I will ever be. Like, I will go explore and find something new and amazing before I ever just be boring. But so during the day, I'd be square me in doing all my accounting stuff. And then at night, I would just be this wild child because I had all this pent up energy from being stuck in this 3-piece business suit all day.
And accounting is sexy. So you would get all hot and bothered.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. So I was a webcammer because I could make good money in the privacy of my own home. And I was doing that because I was making good money. I was paying off my student loans. And then somebody found me on there and said, you should do porn. And I was like, I'm not going to do porn. I'm a CPA. And they're like, no, you should do porn. And so I'm a businesswoman. I made a business decision. I said, this is how much I make in my CPA job. This is my potential, for income in this new area. And how long can I do it? Oh my God, that sounds like a shit ton of fun. Oh, sorry. Can we swear on this? Because I should totally be.
Fuck no. No cussing. You can't talk about porn and then also cuss. It has to be.
Okay. Exactly. So that's what got me into it. It was really like, I can have an incredible amount of fun, just really enjoy something wild, crazy, and free. And I still have my CPA license. So when I get old and ugly, that's what I always say. When I get old and ugly, I'll just go out of this industry and go right back into
ugly. You'll get old, but probably not ugly.
Well, I hope I don't get ugly, but eventually I will get ugly.
There's a market for that.
There's a market for that.
There's a market for everything.
It's called MILF and then GILF, I believe. And I was like, please, I want to be out before I'm ever.
So you did it as business. You had a goal. You went at it. Yada yada yada. Like that was it. You were just like
at it. And I swear the reason why is because I have a business mind. Because anybody who gets in the industry, there's so many girls. Like the supply of girls is enormous. So why me? Like, why was I so special? I mean, I've got a unique look, so I totally get that. And I'm good at what I do, so I totally get that. But if you're not saying that knowing how to market myself and be a businesswoman wasn't a huge player in getting me to where I was in 2.5 years, that's it. I mean, that really is.
When did you enter?
So January of 2015. So it's been almost 3 years. Yeah, almost 3 years.
That's it?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I did not realize
I feel like I thought I was just going to kind of piddle my way in for a little while and then kind of go back out. And instead I went like,
That's amazing. No, you have a ton of content out, and that's crazy. I did not realize it had been that short a period of time. That's awesome. Well, congrats, because you just went to the Exotica Expo, and I saw you there this year in New Jersey, and you won.
I know you were in and then out.
I know, I was in and out. I had to go. We were down in Atlantic City doing an expo as well, and I couldn't be there. But I like the crew there. The Exotica crew is awesome. We love those guys. We've done some production work with them. We did some installations there. So great group of people. I just couldn't make it that time. But what did you win?
I won 5 awards.
Let's hear it.
Okay, let's see. Oh boy, putting me on the spot. I won Scene of the Year.
Scene of the Year. What was the Scene of the Year? Come on.
Scene of the Year was called Squirt or Die. It was with Small Hands. The big tattoo, other tattooed guy, huge tattoos in the industry. And it was just a big squirt scene. And I destroyed the couch in their house.
Brought to you by Scotch Guard.
That's right. But it was a super fun scene. It was an amazing fun. At the end, you literally just have to high five and say, did we just freaking do that?
I mean, it won an award.
Yeah, it won an award. There you go. And I won Group Scene of the Year. So Group Scene of the Year was it was I gotta remember the name of it. I wore horns and I was like a devil. And so it was me and 2 other girls and a guy in a sex scene where we were in hell. And why can't I remember? In a minute I'll remember, and then I'll tell you the name of the movie. And it was done by Burning Angel. And then let's see, I won.
I love Joanne. She's awesome.
She is freaking awesome. Let's see. I won Website of the Year with AnnabellePeaks.XXX, which it's won 3 awards now. So that's the website I designed and created and I produce all my content for. And so I'm pretty, for me, that's a really great award.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm proud to have won awards for something.
Right, and how many sites are there? It's ridiculous. In a competition like that, it's ridiculous.
Exactly. Let's see. Number 4 was Best Boobs. And what's my 5th one?
Oh my God, you forgot the 5th award.
Oh, don't.
Most forgetful adult star.
There's so many that I'm
most forgetful star. You can't do my taxes now. You can't forget shit and do my taxes.
Hey, you know what? Doing taxes is not about remembering stuff. It's about out and organized and everything like that. You put me on the spot now.
I did. Yeah. It'll come back to you. So when starting this, I let you know, look, I'm not just going to ask the standard bullshit. Hey, what's your favorite position? Or, oh my God, blah, blah. You have to dive into it a little bit, but I have other questions for you regarding it. My question for you is, you said, don't ask the 5 common questions. So I want to know what the 5 common questions are, because this will help other interviewers in the future and not ask these damn questions.
Okay, well, you already asked one of them, so.
Which was what? What did you win?
How to get into the business.
No, you got to ask that one. Okay, so there has to be that default one, right? That's like saying your name. How'd you get into the business?
Really?
Basics. Yeah, because, people want to know stuff. They got to know basics. So tell me the other 4 that I don't get into.
The favorite position's always one.
And I knew that. I said I'm not going to ask you that.
Yep. And then your favorite performer is always one.
Oh, I don't care about that.
Yeah, and then what do you still want to do in the industry, and when are you going to do whatever the next thing on the list is, like butt sex, double penetration, triple anal?
Oh yeah, that sounds like industry stuff. That sounds like somebody from the business.
It's always the same question. And then they'll throw in, odd ones here or there, but.
Right. Well, I imagine that's like industry stuff. I'm not knocking those questions because I get it. Like if it's a video for that fan base wants to know. Especially just 2.5 years in. I mean, hell, like the potential.
Answer, I will never do triple anal.
Never triple anal. You got to have a limit. I mean, there's has to be like, it's a family friendly show. So like, you have to like draw the line somewhere. Like triple anal is just over the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Double anal is one thing, but triple is just, man, too much. The physicality of that just seems like complicated to me.
I know right now
it's like one of those fucking wooden puzzles that like the 3 pieces all connect into one and it makes a square somehow that I can't figure out. It just seems
I can't figure it out either. So we're gonna just save it to
so we're just not gonna do it. All right. So some of the stuff that I had wanted to bring up with you. One, are you cool with me talking about the story I tell other girls about how to hustle and I refer to you?
Oh yeah.
Like breakfasts and stuff, like all of that, like. Yeah, when I'm talking to girls, because for those of y'all that are not aware, Annabelle is also a member of the ismygirl.com, just like it sounds, ismygirl.com. And your page on there is?
Annabelle Peaks XX. So
at ismygirl.com, .ismygirl.com. So is it dot or is? Or dot or at? What am I?
It's dot ismygirl.
Dot. Yeah, I should know that, seeing how I manage the site. But she's a member of that and has an account there. You can go view her, you can follow her there, interact with her on a personal level, see her day-to-day stuff, not just the content that's Google search, so which I do recommend you Google search Annabelle Peaks because it's worth it. It's worth it. So
stuff on there and stuff.
So when I'm talking to these girls, because I've worked with models in different capacity for a long time, right? And I'm all for adult. I have no qualms against it. I have no hesitations, nothing like that. I'm not squeamish. I'm not like insecure. So I'm like, yeah, adult is great. So, well, I guess we're all insecure at some level, but I don't let it project onto my fans. Even my girlfriend is on ismygirl.com. But when I'm talking to them, I like to reference you. Because I feel if you're going to get involved in a business, you're either going to get like ran by that business or you're going to run yourself in that business, right? And with the social media being the way it is and the opportunities that we all have as individual entrepreneurs now, you can tackle this. I mean, you can kill it. It's not like back in the day when like, an adult, you were kind of under an umbrella of a brand. Right, under a production company, and you're kind of owned, and like they handle everything, they market you, they distribute you, they do everything. Right now, like everybody can be independent in a lot of areas, like you are. So you're widely versatile. You do everything from camming to adult to selling product, your own merch line, which I participated in at a small level and introduced you to some people for that. Hopefully, you like the products more than what you were previously getting, and it shows the opportunities you have. And then one of the things I always tell a girl coming into it that has questions for me about how to maximize potential is I'm like, Annabelle is like the example of how you can attack every different angle you want, including, and the most impressive to me, that when you're traveling and you go to an event, so if she comes to your city, guys, this is a thing, or ladies, this is a thing you can do. She will actually provide you the opportunity to join her for breakfast. So what I tell these girls is, I was like, you can sell anything you want. You can set your own course. You can do it all. You can even sell breakfast, because Annabelle sells breakfast and dinner. And they're like, what do you mean she sells breakfast and dinner? I was like, this woman pre-sells her Saturday morning breakfast, where she arrives at her own time at this restaurant, correct?
Correct.
And then the caller has to then show up at this event, meet with you, and sit down for breakfast with you. For how long? How long is breakfast?
An hour. Mm-hmm.
1 hour. Eat the food, and the person pays for the food. Correct. And then that person leaves without her.
Correct.
And breakfast with you is $500.
$500.
And dinner is $1,000.
Is $1,000.
And people do it.
And people do it all the time.
And that's amazing.
Regularly.
And that's amazing. And it's not just amazing because like people do it. It's amazing that you thought to have that insight to do it, because it makes total sense. Like if it's somebody you follow and somebody you're into and somebody you admire or watch or want to know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's not really that big of a deal. I've spent $500 on a date before, just because dates are expensive and can be, depending on what you do. So the opportunity to interact with somebody like you, it makes total sense to me, but it's absolutely like an example of how you can think outside that box and just be a boss. And if you market yourself a certain way and you hold yourself to a certain position and you have these like prerequisites of what it takes, what it's going to cost to interact with you, and you set that standard, people go for it. I mean, there's cars out there that are $2 million. You don't need to spend $2 million on a car, but people do it. People do, because people want to spend what they want to spend. And if something is exclusive and if it's desirable, anything is only worth what you're willing to pay for it. You know, like Antique Roadshow, they'll be like, this blanket's worth $100,000. No, that blanket is worth whatever anybody's going to give you, period. So it's like, it's impressive to me the way you've set your game, because you really, and I'm learning now just today that it's only been that amount of time, and that's massive.
Well, if you think about it, like if I had the chance to meet, I mean, I have people that I would just die to sit down and eat with, you know, and
sure,
just
absolutely, me too.
And ask all the million questions that you have. And
absolutely.
if you think about it, if you're going to go somewhere and see that person live, like let's say it's a movie star or somebody on stage, like a band member or something like that, they need to be doing that. Like, because if I had the chance to sit down with freaking Matthew McConaughey and have breakfast with him, I would just ask him, I would just sit there and stare at him, honestly.
I would just listen to him talk.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the best. All right.
Fangirl. I would be the fangirl. Oh my God.
Absolutely. No, it's really clever.
Yeah, but so I was like, people are like that. And if you meet me at an Exotica or when you're feature dancing and stuff like that, you get like 3 minutes of my time. You just do. Because there's too many people around. There's not, you know. So
and you've paid to go there. You've paid to get in. You've paid to do the whole shit. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I mean, it's super common. People ask, well, what do I get with that? And I'm like, nothing.
Yeah, breakfast. Like, I don't know. Orange juice.
You want eggs? You can
whatever. You get whatever you want. You can get it crispy. You can get it raw.
Exactly. But you're not gonna drive me anywhere. You're not gonna drive me back. It's all public, you know, so that I feel safe, and that way I don't mind meeting a total stranger.
And I know that the girls have asked that question. They've been like, but what about? And I'm like, no, she sets the standard. She goes there ahead of time.
And I make sure they know before they ever pay for the date, you know, like, hey, don't be thinking that you're going to be getting something afterwards, that it is something, because it's not my intent. My intent is you want to get to know me, or you have all these questions, or you know what, you just want some time to hang out with somebody that you think is a pretty cool chick.
Absolutely.
That's what it's for. And
100%.
I get it all the time. It's amazing.
That's great. I think it's great. And I think more power to you. And
it's all about, it goes back to all about marketing yourself. Like I looked it up the other day. I have 42 different income stream lines. 42. And now some of them don't make hardly anything because they're either new or they're low or whatever. But what it means is if you think about 42, like literally think about how many websites that's making me some sort of income, what kind of things that I'm doing, like feature dancing and conventions and porn and you know, like that. Just think about all those different things. And like some of them make money while we're sitting here on the phone. You know, while we're sitting here.
She's making money right now, fellas.
Right now,
and ladies.
And I better. Hopefully I'm making some when I sleep, you know.
Well, that's the main thing, is to make money when you sleep. Like that's a formula for success. Multiple points of income and make money when you sleep. Those are fundamental.
I mean, but it should be like that with every business anybody ever has, you know. So if you, I mean, it's easier as an entrepreneur. Like if you work for somebody, then you get a paycheck because you show up and work so many hours and stuff like that. But now that I have my own business, I would never go back.
Right.
Because without your you know, as an entrepreneur, you can seek out and find those passive sorts of income, and you can work as hard as you want to make as much as you want. Your income's limitless.
Right.
Whereas in a job, you know, 8 to 5, you're limited to what your wage is.
Absolutely. But, you know, with a grain of salt, like some people, because I've had businesses my whole life, and since I was like 21. I've had my own businesses, and I've done the other side as well. So there's benefit to both, because one of the things I learned about a lot of people is some people want to do the job as the job portion of their life, as that means to an end. And they might take it totally seriously. They might love it. They might put all their heart into it. But then when they want to shut that day off, they're able to do that. And as a business owner for, the majority of my life, that employed people, sometimes a lot of people, and the responsibilities that come from that can be both rewarding and extremely taxing. So I don't knock the other side, and I've dabbled in both to kind of get perspective. And in fact, I've taken a role in managerial in order to kind of rethink what it's like to be a business owner going forward and to employ people, to get that other perspective. Because if you're only one thing, you don't have that balance. So the fact that you did work as a CPA works because now it gives you that perspective on the other end. So you have both to gauge it. And I think that's super important because, like you can really, as a team member in a thing that you believe in, you can really bring a lot to that table. And it's very rewarding to help something like that excel. So I dig it, man. I like that you have that complication. I still can't get over the fact that it was that long. I didn't know that you had only recently moved over into it.
Hey, so that's why people haven't gotten tired of me yet, because I'm still pretty new,
Right.
One day people will look at me and be like, boobs,
Or breakfast. Like I took her to Waffle House. You got to go to Waffle House, by the way. I was really disappointed that you told me you had not had somebody take you to Waffle House.
I've never been to Waffle House.
Yeah, you got to go to Waffle House, because for me, the idea that somebody could spend $500 at Waffle House just like blows my mind, because I think Waffle Houses make about $500 a day. Total, like, as a business. Totally kidding. Those things are fucking cash cows. They are secret of the South, and they are amazing. Like, never hate on the Waffle House, but if you can go to Waffle,
chicken and waffles at the Waffle House.
You can, but the my favorite is the cheese, eggs, and raisin toast bacon thing. Like, it's just awesome. So they have a ton of good stuff. Very limited menu, but like all of it's awesome. Get a waffle, of course, when you go there. And if you can, go to one in Atlanta, because that's where they come from. And in Atlanta, they have more Waffle Houses than New York has Starbucks. Like, I have gotten off the highway. You know how you have 2 on-ramps, 2 off-ramps? Right. And there was a Waffle House in each one. There's 4. I was sitting in a Waffle House, and I could see 3 Waffle Houses.
Oh my gosh.
Craziest shit I've ever seen. I swear to God, I'm not just making that up.
I want to know where that is. Oh my God.
There's beltways around Atlanta. It's pretty much everywhere. Like every exit in Atlanta is Waffle House. It's the craziest stuff. So diving over into some other stuff, I wanted to bring up an interesting topic. I wanted to bring up something that we touched on a little bit in today's climate of sexual assault and allegations of assault, and the kind of uncovering of decades of this power play. And I was interested in that with your industry, because I really want to ask that question from you. Is like, I thought about it this morning. I was like, what about sexual assault in the adult industry? And how is that perceived, right? Because the perception is from the outside, people are like, oh, she was an adult. You know what I mean? So like, it didn't matter, or she was asking for it, or blah, blah, blah. So I imagine that is a real serious topic, right? Because there is this idea that you're going to do it anyway. So I'm really curious about how that plays out and what some stuff is. We got a special delivery.
I'm doing an interview, but I'm totally okay with you in my room and work around.
So we're going to get room service done here during the podcast. This is so good.
Still need like my sheets changed and all that stuff.
JP, are you seeing that? How awesome is that?
Yes.
We're going to have a maid service go down while this is going on. I don't even want to edit this out.
Yeah. Give it half an hour. Yeah, if you can come back in a half hour, that'd be great. Then. Good. Okay, thank you. Yes.
This is so good.
I don't think she wanted to be on camera, maybe. I don't know. She was like,
That's really funny. I was really excited about it. We were talking about it. I was like, man, like this is a great episode. We had
I would have totally let her do it.
The maid come in. No, you should have let her. That would have been awesome. You shouldn't have said anything. You just should have kept talking.
Please.
She'll be back in a half hour. We're still going to be on, so it's going to be great.
I know. Well, that's what I was thinking, honestly.
So back to the happy subject of this that we're talking about. But I do want to touch in on what we talked about the other day with it, socially. but I want to know about it in your business.
Sure. Well,
without roping yourself off. I mean, you want to call out people, do it. Like,
no. Well, I'm going to preface a couple of things about sexual assault. Okay. One, I'm probably not your typical girl that's like, oh my gosh, sexual assault's super wrong, and I can't believe anybody who's done it, and I super condemn them and all that stuff. Half the time, like, I get that there's probably some of it that's really warranted and really necessary to call people out on it and get them in trouble. But then I think there's people that like jump on the bandwagon and are like, yeah, well, one day he slapped me in the ass on the way, and so now I need $1 million from you. I'm gonna all that stuff,
book deal and everything else.
Exactly. Like, I think sometimes there's the people that really felt violated from something, and then there's other people like, oh shit, she's getting some money, everybody's getting fired because of this, I don't like him anymore. So sure, that happened to me too. And so I'll preface that when I hear about it happening, I'm kind of skeptical, because I think there's a lot of people in the world that hey, this is a sexual world, and if I go into an office and I'm dressed a certain way, I'm not saying I'm asking for it. That's the wrong way to say it. But at the same time, if you're not a grown up enough about it to say, hey, you know what, that's not really acceptable, so I don't appreciate that, and give them that warning verbally, then if you just kind of take it, or maybe even accept it and kind of, hey, they're flirting with me, and then one day it goes over the line, then you were flirting with them too. And then when it goes over the line, that's when you're supposed to be an adult and say, hey, that went over the line today. And then just move on. But sometimes that doesn't happen because people aren't great communicators.
Sure.
And I totally get that. So then they put themselves in a bad position. They were kind of flirty because they liked it. And then all of a sudden it crosses the line one day. When it crosses the line, they don't have either the guts or the adultness to be able to have the conversation that, hey, this crossed the line. So then it turns into something else. I do think it happens in the adult industry, but I think it happens in every industry. So I honestly don't believe it's more prevalent. I just think girls in the adult industry are less likely to have the communication skills and the grown up, like they're not grown up and adult enough to say, hey, I don't appreciate that.
Right. Because these are my limits. These are my boundaries, et cetera.
Exactly. I know a lot of girls in the industry that they don't know their limits.
Right.
They don't know what they're comfortable with. They don't know what they're okay with doing. So they might be like, I don't really want to have butt sex yet, but hey, they're going to pay me more, and okay, why not?
Sure, they're already in the moment, right?
Yeah. So then they start doing that, and then they're like, well, how about you put two of them in me, double?
Right.
And so then they're like, well, I don't know about that either, but they're going to pay me more money. So, and that's how it happens. Or sometimes it's a girl who's like, I don't really want to be slapped. I don't want to be, a certain way. I don't want to be tied up. But then somebody's like, well, how about we just do it this way? Or they let you do it once, and then they're like, well, I did it once, so I guess I'll do it again.
Right.
That's how girls get into trouble.
Sure.
Like a grown woman.
Right.
So somebody comes in and is like, hey, I want this to be a really aggressive one, so you tell me what I can do. I'm like, well, you're not going to slap me in the face. You're not going to spit on me. You're not going to do anything that sounds degrading. I'm not going to crawl around like a dog for you. I'm like, I do not do any of that.
Right.
But I'm a grown up woman enough to say that and make sure it doesn't happen.
Right.
Like if it happens on set, cut, I told him not to do that.
Right. And you've done that.
And I've done that.
Nice.
And so I totally get it.
And that sets a precedence. Like those people know not to go there with you going forward.
Exactly. Well, and honestly, it sets a standard for what I'm willing to do. And I know it's a silly thing. I roll my eyes when I say it, but I like to keep it classy. And I know porn is porn, but like I am a respectable adult woman. I'm not a 20-year-old idiot that you can throw around and do whatever you want with. And I get that there's an entire place and culture for people that want to just.
And we're not calling every 20-year-old an idiot. Just
no, I'm sorry.
Just most of you.
I'm sorry.
Because I was an idiot at like 20 now.
But you know what I mean? Like there's a market for girls who like that too.
Absolutely.
There's a market for girls who love to be degraded and turned into that and all that. But it's not me. So for me, I know what I want. But the truth is, in every industry, every woman, every even man, you have to be able to be an adult and have a conversation about sex. And is it so weird that you can love sex and love even watching porn, but then you're going to condemn you know, those who do porn,
Oh yeah.
who are, you know, kind of sexually promiscuous and stuff like
Oh,
that
absolutely.
out in the industry. And just the whole sex topic seems to be shunned
Oh, we
almost.
talked about that the other day too, like the blinding hypocrisy in the idea that sex is important. I mean, counselors use it. We brought up that even some, like, you know, Christian counselors will say, hey, these certain types of pornography are okay. There's actually been, like, you know, pseudo safe, like, morally okay sex videos, to, like, whether it was instructional or whether it was explorative or whatever. But even outside of religious, like, it's just considered like a healthy thing, right? People have had that attitude towards pornography for a long time now. I remember Dr. Ruth when I was a kid, like, she would openly talk about sex and say that, you know, it was all fine to do all of that. And at the same token, the same people that I know absolutely watch porn every chance they get, are the first ones to turn around to an adult star or stripper and call her a whore and be like, whatever. And I'm like, you're like the special kind of asshole. You can't enjoy a thing and then bastardize those who do it because of your own insecurities or your own squeamishness. I talk about, you know, personal and American squeamishness a lot. And, like, then bastardize those people who provide that for you. Like, it's not a thing for you to shit on, but it's somehow acceptable in a lot of circles to do both of those things, to want to appreciate it and then shit on it, to like Marilyn Monroe and then call the current model whatever, to like appreciate classic art that was mostly nudes, like sculptures and paintings of nudes, even in the Vatican where I've been and seen them, and then to turn around and to shit on a current model or performer. And it's ridiculous. Like, it makes no sense. Like, and that does nothing but reflect the personal insecurity and uncertainty of the people that do it. Like, it's just like the whole homophobic thing, the cliche that, if, you know, homophobia typically derives from, you know, inability to process any urges or thoughts or tendencies you may have had as a human, and then you project that over onto violence and homophobic tendencies. Same thing with adult. It's like, you know, your own insecure. What I see with a lot of people, with some women, is that they will project their insecurities onto the adult star who maybe appears more confident, more sexual, that they're concerned that the guy or woman that they're with might find that person more attractive than them. And then same thing with the guys. They have these fantasies and these tendencies, and they just want to project that, like, negative and dominance and that nastiness onto those girls as a way to fill the void of insecurity they feel. Or my favorite one is the comments, because we worked with models so long through Inked and Steadfast and all these other things, that the girls will put up something, and the guys that talk shit about them are the ones who has their wife in their picture. And I get it, dude. You're trying to make sure that your wife is got the impression that you don't like the girl that you're following and watching and that you're looking at. So your way to cover your ass is to be like, oh, that girl's gross and she's a fucking whore. You're the one looking at her. Like, just it's obvious. You're not fooling anybody. So ladies, any guy that you're with that posts negative shit about women, just so you know, he's watching more porn. Yeah, he's watching more porn than any of them. Like, your dude is cheating. He is watching porn. He is thinking about women all the fucking time. Because if he wasn't, he wouldn't have the time to think or look or talk to them. He would just be focused on you, or you would be in a successful relationship where you explored pornography together, or whatever your choices were. But yeah, those ones that bark at it, trust me, they're doing it. That's why so many politicians on the family front and the conservative front keep getting busted fucking their male interns. Like, it happens all the time, or sending dick pics to little boys or to little girls or to their coworkers. And to get so wrapped up in so many sex scandals and child pornography scandals. It happens on both sides, but it seems to happen like a lot on the conservative level, especially on the, like, Christian conservative level.
Acceptable.
Right. Well, because they're hiding it. They're hiding it in the first place. They have those tendencies. And so they project it out, you know, outwardly to hide what's inside, you know, look at what I say, not what I do. So you don't feel that there's like any more or less in sexual assaults or misconduct in the adult industry. It's just that, one, it's a it's an environment that is a little more accepting of the action. Obviously, you're not going to get as much, not as many girls are going to call out somebody for smacking them on the butt if it's part of the open sexual environment. But that the problem that may happen with some of those models, male or female, is they just don't understand their boundaries, and they don't understand that, like, you don't have the actress or actor you're participating in with isn't the same as the producer or the photographer or a backer, a financial backer. And they just need to be able to identify that and set those standards.
Exactly. But I think that the same about anything else. If I was back in a business world and like people have a business world view of sexual harassment, but where is that line drawn? And there's all this gray area of what if you post a cute little funny cartoon and it's got something sexual in it? Well, is that harassment to somebody?
Right.
No. Come on, grow the fuck up.
Right.
And have tolerance and just be like, that's funny because it's funny.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, you know, you can't say that in today's age. You almost have to be the most boring office in the world to never ever have any sort of, you know, discrimination, sexual assault, sexual harassment, all that, anything ever come out, because you're going to have to start limiting, oh, you can't dress up for Halloween because what happens if somebody, you know, wears an inappropriate Halloween outfit and then they're going to get sexual harassment case, or you have to have that discussion with them. What happens if you post a funny and it happens to say something about, you know, a person in society or something like that? Like you might as well just say good morning, good afternoon, goodbye.
Right. Because
the world is all about people, and people have topics and people have thoughts, and some of the thoughts are just freaking funny and they're just freaking sexy, or they're just fun.
Sure.
And you'll have to remove all of that out of everything in life in order to save yourself from a case of somebody being, you know, saying, oh, well, he looked at me and I felt, you know, like he was staring at my boobs.
Right.
You know?
Now, to counter that, to be completely clear on our positions, or at least my position, while that is all very true, the other side of it, the absolute power play of sexual domination and of manipulation and inappropriateness is being exposed, and in a good way. Like the Weinsteins and the Trumps and the people like that who've been using this their whole career as a way to sexually assault and use their power and their privilege and their money and their threats and everything as a way to take what they want from people. That's real. I mean, that's just the thing. Were some of those actresses open to the activity for gain? Yeah, Julia Roberts openly said that she had sex to further her career. So I don't think that even in the Weinstein thing, not everybody has come out, because some of those actresses were probably okay with it. They're in their own world. They were like, I'm going to do this because I know this is an opportunity for me. I'm going to do this as an adult. But on the other side of that, anybody who ever uses that position and that power and that dominance, and that they know that the person wasn't actually attracted to them, they manipulated the position to either grab, grope, rape, or manipulate that person into a feeling of needing to do it to further their career. That is no excuse. That's out, man. If you're that person, fuck you. Like, that's sexual assault. That's rape. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to just be like coming out of an alley and hitting somebody with a club. It can be like, oh, you know, I could really give you that opportunity, man. There's so many girls in line right now. And man, it's just really, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking of this other one. I don't know, you know, if there was a way, you know, maybe if there was a motivation or something, like, you know, once you go into that and you're leaning on that shit, you're scum. Like, that has to be exposed. And I don't have any problem with that coming out, because it changes the dialogue, right? It changes like what's acceptable. Like, we don't chase and hunt down. I brought this up in one the other day. Salem, you know, in Salem, they're not hunting witches anymore, because it got to a point where people are like, you know what? We can't do this anymore. This is bullshit. It shouldn't be a part of our formula and our society to say that it's okay to drown these women to see if they're witches because they'll float. Not one has floated yet, so maybe we should rethink this. You know, there comes a point where you have to cut that shit off. And I feel that way in this, because I know when I was a kid and I watched the older men that I knew and how they interacted with women, in retrospect now, you know, fast forwarding to 2017, I get it. Like, that shit wasn't appropriate, and women accepted it because that's what they kind of had to do. They kind of had to accept it. If they spoke up, it did affect their career and it affected their potential. So I have no qualms in saying that absolutely anybody that ever pressured anybody into this, manipulated anybody, imposed their will. I have no blockage of the minor thing, the more situation. Like, you can go fuck yourself. You're a fucking pedophile. Like, you can't fuck around with 14-year-olds. Sorry. I know that in Alabama, I think 16 is actually illegal or whatever, but, and that's a gray area in itself, but I'm not talking about a 16 and 18-year-old that went to school together. You know, you're talking about a 34-year-old professional with a fucking, you know, 14, 15, 16-year-old. It's just, you are what you are. I mean, that's the thing.
Do you think, because some of this stuff that's coming out now is from the past, and I don't know how far back it goes, but we've talked about it. Yeah, decades. Well, decades ago, was it socially acceptable for a man to be more dominant to a woman?
It was, and in retrospect, that's incorrect. Like in Italy, it's not.
Was it correct?
No, it wasn't as much. It was still incorrect back then, but it was swept under the rug. It was that you didn't dare speak up because you just gotten rights. I mean, you had just gotten allowed into the workplace, so you're not going to say that shit. It was also acceptable to slap your wife around. You know what I mean? There was a certain level of abuse that was acceptable in the home. And we all know now that's not a thing, you know? I think that with children, there's still that gray area, and I think a parent has the discretion to spank their child or not. I was spanked. I don't think that it fucking traumatized me. I think the shit I was doing that I got spanked for would have ended up traumatizing or killing me.
Corrected your behavior?
It did correct my behavior. I'm not a problem with it. But the idea of like abuse in the home and with the family and the wife and all that shit, that's all bullshit. If that's male to female or female to male, it's not acceptable. In my opinion. And, you know, the seasons change and you got to make those choices for yourself. So while I do agree with you that back then it was more acceptable, it doesn't make it right. So was like, you know, racism, and so was, you know, a lot of things that were acceptable at that time, and you got to hold it to account. Now, should you be able to now hold?
That's what I'm really wondering about, the hold it to account. Because let's say you're 70 years old, and when you were 35 years ago, you said something to a black man that maybe 35 years ago was kind of what everybody was saying back then, because it was tolerated, because it was you know, or you said something to a woman back then because it was tolerated, because that's how it was. 35 years later, can they get in trouble in their current career because of something they said that might have been more acceptable 35 years earlier?
In certain circumstances, in some things, no. If you're both like in a field, in a career or whatever, and y'all had that banter, and it was back and forth. I mean, the racism goes both ways. So like that, at that time, saying something to somebody, female or somebody of a different ethnicity, if you're saying derogatory things, fuck yeah, it was still wrong. It's still totally wrong. People have been fighting for civil rights for a lot longer than the last 35 years. So it's still totally unacceptable. Should it affect your career as an accountant? Probably not. But should it influence the choice to elect a public servant who is responsible for making thoughtful and moral and correct decisions on law and policy that governs the rest of us? Should that be, because they're not entitled to that fucking job. They're hired. We pay them. It's our tax money. And should we be able to hold people in that position, judges, politicians, civil servants, to that capacity, like to hold them to those standards for their past choices? Yes, because your role in current public service, your life has dictated your validation for that position. So absolutely. Like that's like the judges that get appointed to like federal positions and like the Supreme Court, they get scrutinized for their entire career. They look at every case they've ever judged, and they look for a pattern, and they look for bias, and they look for ethical questions, and they look for those things. So who you are your whole life determines that next position. And so, yeah, I feel that in certain circumstances it should. Like, I don't feel that anybody that's ever been repeatedly accused of rape and assault, and all the way down to a 13-year-old girl, should be the fucking president. I think that should be a disqualification. People are like, what about Clinton? Clinton was impeached, and then they didn't didn't get rid of them. They didn't find it. That they went through the process. It went through the thing. And those things were not on public display prior to being there. You know what I mean? To getting in that position. I mean, they were, but they weren't just spoken up on. People bring up also the timing of like Moore, and they're like, oh, it's kind of coincidental that it happened right before the election. And I agree with that. That seems coincidental, except when Weinstein, the situation came out, then all these women and men are coming out and speaking up on it. They're finding their voice. So, yeah, it's all a case by case thing. Sometimes, yeah, it's important. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes, you know, the punishment should just be like, hey, you were an asshole, and like, you know, own it. You know what I mean? And like, you own it. But if you're just going to like lie about it more, like, especially with a political situation, it comes out, you fucking lie about it. Like, these 8 women aren't lying. You know what I mean? You did this. One of the girls has her yearbook that you signed. Like, this happened. And if you can't fucking fess up and say, yeah, I did that, absolutely it should affect your professional career going forward, because you're a fucking liar. And
I agree with that too.
You can't own it. And if you can't own it, you can't make decisions to run this country and to make policies that run our, you know, that dictate our laws and dictate our ethics, because you're just a piece of shit.
I think what we're talking about is character.
Absolutely.
Because you're right. It's like, what I'm thinking is, if I one time cracked a joke about something and somebody remembers it, and let's say 10 years from now, I try to go for public office, which I will never go for because people will judge me as being an adult performer for the rest of my life, which sucks, because I'm a smart woman and I'm an educated woman and I have drive and passion and all of these things. But because of my 2.5 years of choices so far, and however long I decide to do this, I will forever be branded as somebody who is a whore or had daddy issues, or
I think less though, man. A transgender woman just got elected to office, and gay officials are being elected to governorships.
So I just have to move to California before I try.
No, I think that you just have to keep reinforcing the positive and changing the stereotype, changing the narrative.
So
I think that's what you work for. And as long as you keep doing that, I think it changes. I don't think a porn star is looked at today like they were looked at 15, 20 years ago.
I sure hope not. You know, that's one of the reasons why I do my YouTube vlog, is like, I am not the stereotypical porn star.
Shout out your YouTube.
Yep. My YouTube it's like youtube.com/AnnabellePeaksXX. Like, it's easy. Everything's Annabelle Peaks XX these days.
There you go.
But yeah, like in podcasts, that's why I want to talk to people, because I'm not the ditzy, I'm going to go party on the evening, I'm going to, spend all my money on Louboutin.
Hey, you're going to get paid $500 for breakfast.
Yeah. I mean, but like, there's so many stereotypes that it just affects your entire life. And sometimes the negatives just are like, oh my gosh, are there really that many people who don't understand that I'm a real person? And if you just know me, I'm not just that person. But I think it is like, there's probably that in every career.
It does.
But I think it all comes back to the character of a person. My character is somebody who's well-educated, well-spoken. I have a lot of drive in my life.
Absolutely.
And
I can attest to that.
It just happens to be that I'm fun. I'm sorry I'm fun. I don't want to have fun stop at age 12.
Right.
You know what? If I see like snow outside, I want to freaking run into it and like make snowballs and throw it at you. I mean, it's just kind of fun, and sex is like a playground. And if you can have it with people who really want to have it just like that, and at the end you can be like, that was some really cool shit you did when you put up my leg and did all this other fun stuff, then holy shit, do it, because it's a fun part of life. And I don't want to be old and boring.
I think that we perceive the stereotypes more than they exist. Like, I'm an ex-felon and a ex-heroin addict. Like, I've done the whole game. Like, I've been sober almost 20 years, and exactly, because I'm open about it, and it was things that happened, but they don't define me. So I think in today's society, like, I don't think those things happen. Like, matter of fact, my honesty about my past was a fortification for going forward, because I was honest. Because people would be like, hey, or I would be like, hey, this is me, this is the whole package, blah 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 blah. So that character, even though I made flaws because I corrected them for myself, I think that was actually a strength. So if it's not, it's all in how you deliver it. You know what I mean? I think that hold on, stay with free. I think that it's a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, it might stop you from working in some environments, but typically those environments are ones that you didn't want to be a part of anyway. You know what I mean? Like, that was one of the things about getting tattooed the way I did, was it kind of cut me off from a side of the world that I didn't want to participate in. It cut me off from the people that would be superficially friendly to you or interested in you or whatever. But if you did anything out of any sort of line, that was it. You were cut out of their social circle, right? And I wanted that from the gate, because I don't care. Like, I don't want to be a part of a crew or a clique or a club or anything. Like, I hate that shit. I wasn't cool enough in high school for that, and I don't want to be cool enough for that as an adult. Like, I have no interest. So when you're able to cut those people out for being you, for being what you want, that's an asset. So I think the same thing with having done adult. I mean, you're gonna not be around judgmental pricks. Darn. You know what I mean? There's nobody that's really gonna like of any substance or quality that's ever gonna hold that against you. So fuck them.
And sometimes I think I can maybe change people's opinion. I don't know if that's true or not, because
I think you do.
It's what it is.
I think there's no question you do.
But I'm like, there's some people that like, they would like me if they met me.
Right.
Because I'm nice.
Right. All the time.
I'm nice. So, but there's some people that like, when they first, I get it with women a lot.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to steal your man.
Right.
I'm not trying to tell you that you're not beautiful or anything like that. I'm just a nice.
Kind of the opposite. You're generally more supportive of people when I've seen you interact with them.
Absolutely.
Right.
And heck, if you've got a man and he thinks that, he wants to get a picture with me because I'm his favorite porn star, and you're kind of like judging him or something, come on in with me and enjoy the idea that sex is fun. Absolutely. Not that I'm going to somehow steal him away from you and stuff like that. But I do think that all the time it's how you present yourself, and hopefully I can help overcome people's stereotypes and their judgments. Like, that's honestly the number one reason why I have a tattoo right there on my boobs that says "Judge me not."
Yep.
Like, just take a second, read that, and say, "Oh, maybe I should keep an open mind for a minute."
Right.
Like, can everybody have a tattoo like this? Because if everybody was just reminded for a moment to step back and be like, okay, don't judge a book by its cover. Okay, this is how they look. I wonder why. Let's get to know that person. Or, in anything, in a business world, in in an entertainment world, or in anything. I don't know. I'm very open-minded. And
you promise not to persecute somebody in the future for reading your boobs.
I know.
You're not going to call a sexual assault charge on you.
Why are you staring at my boobs?
Yeah, stop staring at what I'm showing you.
I was like, I don't mind if you stare at them. Just eventually look back up.
Eventually look up. Sooner or later. Your quick schedule. What do you got coming up?
Oh boy. So I pretty much have most of the rest of the month off because I'm doing vacation for Christmas. I am going to be in Jacksonville, North Carolina, feature dancing in a week and a half. So that's like the 15th, 16th of December. January, I'm going to be feature dancing in LA in between the XBiz Awards and the AVN Awards.
Are you going to shout out where?
Where I don't know the names of the clubs. I just know they're like, all I know is that my agent
just go to Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Toby's in Jacksonville, North Carolina. But like everything for next year, I'm already starting to get hit up for clubs and stuff like that. But like so far, they're like, "Can you do Columbus in April?" And I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "Can you do LA in January?" And I'm like, "Yep." But I haven't signed anything, so I know they're. Yeah. So I book up really fast. So.
No worries. That's awesome. Well, you can always go check out the rest of her schedule. You post all of your events and your travels give it another shout out.
I do it on my Instagram and my Twitter all the time. So that's at Annabelle Peaks XX.
And of course, your Is My Girl, if you want to follow her at a personal level and see her day-to-day travels, as well as some of her more risque content, and actually message her directly and all of that. That's another place to find her.
I like the messages directly. I think that's kind of the fun part. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Annabelle. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day and shunning away your
I know.
maid. So bummed. Yeah. When she comes in, just turn on like one of your films so that she walks in and sees. Shock the shit out of her.
Oh wait, hold on. I'll put that away. Stuff out on the bed or something. Yeah.
All right. Well, anytime you want to do this, we'd love to do this with you again. And it's been a pleasure. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right.